I
That's
want to
right.
start off this episode with where we left off. So last episode was not entirely, but a lot of focus on Canada's food price report. So that was released like literally the day we did our podcast. So tell me,
Yeah.
what was the reaction? I mean, last year it blew up and lots of people focused on it. How was the reaction this year? One of the things I noticed, as you said, you weren't in front of the camera as much. A lot of your people were there doing a great job of speaking to the results. So what was your
Oh
impressions of
yeah.
the campaign?
I'm fortunate enough to have a really good team, and we have some
Mm,
great partnerships with the University of Guelph, the University of Saskatchewan, and the University of British Columbia. Their contributions were significant this year. It was great. And The day of the release, I was actually at a conference in Banff, and so I was busy. And I did all the morning shows, the main morning shows. But after that, the team took over and they did a fantastic job. We received, I believe, we received over about 150 requests on release day, and
wow.
we weren't able to answer all of them, obviously, but I think most of them were answered because we had so many people giving interviews. So it was great, and the market reach this year was over 550 million people. In other words, Michael,
Wow.
most Canadians have actually heard of Canada's food price report. If you watched the news that night, it was probably the number one or number two stories on most not networks. So we were pleased with the release. Obviously, it was not great news because we were
Right.
announcing higher prices for 2022, but the report really is filled with a lot of nuggets, a lot of different things
Mm,
beyond the
mhm.
forecast. The forecast is really the hook, but there are other issues that we address in the report, and hopefully people will read the report fully over the next few weeks.
Yeah, I think if anyone might hesitate to read the report thinking they're just going through a bunch of tables and charts and of numbers, it's just the opposite, really. As you say, it's a very fulsome report with lots of great insight and writing. And I mean, what I got to thinking more about was the impact of the restaurant. I by the way, went out to dinner at our friend Carl Heinrich's Richmond Station
Oh,
this
okay.
week. So a friend of mine was in town. He said, "Where can we go that's safe?" I said, "Well, Richmond Station. I haven't been there. Carl says hello, by the way. So I ran in.
Oh,
Carl was there,
so
and
he was there. He was there.
he was there. It was a busy night. Everybody, of course, had to show their ID, their vac status to get in. And talking to the people who work there, they're like, this is a job for me. So as not everybody in all restaurants mandates or even wants their employees to be vaccinated, whereas everybody there pretty much is because it's a full-time job and it's
That's
just a
right.
different vibe. Anyway, the food, by the way, you and I have to go next time we're in Toronto. The food was amazing. Richmond Station, and just for the reminder to the listeners, their hospitality included.
That's
So
right.
tips,
No
there's no tipping,
tips.
no tips. Don't want tips. The price is the price. And my guest, who was over from the UK, was like, "Wow, these prices seem high." I'm like, "Oh, the tips in." He goes, "Oh,
Were
okay,
you were
that
you
makes sense."
were you tempted to give a little extra for because of the holidays,
Habit,
and you
no,
you
just
felt you
habit.
felt generous?
Not because I felt generous, but because it's habit. Like that's
It's
a
a
hard
habit,
habit to
yeah,
break. Like they hand me the machine, right? And I'm like, "Where's the 18, 20, 22%
yeah,
option?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, tips already included." So, and yeah, the service is great. My server was wonderful. The people were great. Food was amazing. But I think that's again, we'll talk about the future in 2022. But anyway, great
yeah.
report. I thought about restaurants a lot. I thought about you and that as we were sitting in Carl's restaurant. So
So
let's turn our mind.
did you feel that menu prices were, say, adjusted due to inflation? Did you see a difference?
Well, I mean, it is a bit hard for me because I haven't gone to many restaurants really, like
We've
over the
gone
past
to a
few
few,
years.
to be honest with you, over the last
Yeah,
couple of weeks, and I've
it's
seen a
still higher.
difference. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, menu prices have gone up already,
yeah.
and yeah, so I'm not surprised, and I wouldn't be surprised if Carl adjusted, some of his prices as well.
I guess what it means, one of the things I noticed the thread of conversation about the report was, have is the era of cheap food over? And
Yep.
I guess in relative sense, having you and I discussed that a lot, our food prices, even at the higher range, are still quite economical. They're still good value for what we eat, even with the inflation
I would
that
say
we
so.
have.
Yes. Hmm.
So I guess it's all relative, right? I mean, ultimately, I think people are more knowledgeable about the industry, and they're like, it doesn't make sense that nobody, that they have to, back to our Corey Mintz interview, that they have to have, people working for free to just, keep the lights on in restaurants. It doesn't make sense. The industry just doesn't work. So maybe I will have to pay more to eat out, and maybe I'll be more choosy. I think to me, it gets to this more conscientious consumption theme that I've been thinking about for consumers. They might not necessarily spend more or less, but they may spend less often and make more
Yep.
choices. Maybe I won't eat out 5 times a month. Maybe I'll do twice, but I'll be more choosy.
Yeah. And but when you see uh, when you see a market spending or investing more on food, they will value food more. There's
Oh,
no
that's
doubt
interesting.
there. Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. And so your perception or your relationship with food will also change. So I've always believed that food prices are quite reasonable in Canada, despite higher food inflation rates. And of course, we look at food prices all the time. When the shift is severe like it is now, of course, you will see people fall behind. I've always argued that food prices aren't necessarily the problem; wages are the problem. And when you
Yeah.
look at food affordability in Canada, you can see that slowly Canadian households are falling behind.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the troublesome part of it for sure, and lots of people who are, having to make sacrifices because of the high cost of food.
Well,
Um.
if you're not
Hmm.
aware, Michael, the United Nations actually does have, along with The Economist, the well-known magazine, they actually rank countries based on food affordability. And Canada ranked 18th in 2020. Now it's down to 24th. And
Huh.
my bet is that Canada will actually rank even lower. And food affordability will look obviously at food prices, but it also looks at wages as well.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, interesting. I mean, what's the key drive? I mean, what are the key drivers in that? The accessibility of food, where food's available, and I guess
Well,
where and how
food
the wages are,
security,
right?
there are three pillars to food security. There's access, safety, and affordability. So they look at all three. When you look at affordability, safety, Canada is actually number one, according to the UN. So we're doing
Mm,
great. Access, we're number three, which again points to the panic buying that we saw, which is, I think, ridiculous and irrational. Access
yeah.
is not a problem in Canada, but affordability is becoming a problem in Canada for sure. Despite the fact
I,
that
gue-
we are producing a lot of food, it doesn't necessarily mean it's actually affordable.
I guess we lose a few points for northern communities, right, where there's a little
Oh,
access.
absolutely. Yes.
Well, all right. I mean, that's the food price report. So, congratulations. It's a big body of work and
That,
very
thank you so
influential. So,
much. Yeah.
congratulations. Yeah, it was good. I had lots of people say, "Hey, I saw your partner on TV," and I'm like, "That's my partner." So that was good.